Maggie.
Hi, I'm Mark, and this is
Spatial Report.
Welcome to the Esri Canada podcast that connects our user community with the latest and coolest trends in the world of ArcGIS. On today's show,
we'll talk about how ArcGIS Solutions are a great way to quickly deploy industry-specific applications.
Then our mobile app's GeoGeek gives us the exciting details of new AI functionality with ArcGIS Survey123.
And we wrap up by facing off in a new game of M versus M.
The hockey playoffs are heating up, and so is our GIS game, so let's drop the puck. Hey, Maggie Sampson, welcome back to another podcast.
Hey, Mark, I'm happy to be here, as usual.
As usual, yes, indeed, and I'm sure you're excited for the hockey playoffs, right?
Oh, yeah, I definitely know who's in those, and I'm gonna love watching it.
So I assume you do not have a favorite team?
Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, my dad likes them, so I have to too.
Yes, it's part of the genetic pool, I guess.
Yep.
No, for those in audio, I am wearing my Vegas jersey because I have a feeling Vegas is going to repeat this year, so I'm very excited about that.
Boo.
Oh, come on. Okay, so one dumb, silly question, all right?
Yeah.
If you could have your own hockey team, but you have to name the team with something with a GIS name, what would you call it?
This is a very difficult question because GIS words have nothing to do with sports. But I think I would have to go for a very beautiful name. We're gonna go for the Toronto Tigers, which of course stands for the topologically integrated geographic encoding and referencing system used by the United States Census in 1990. Definitely a GIS word. Yep. Tigers. Tiger data. That counts.
That counts? Yes, that counts. That is actually a very clever twist on the question. I like that. Very smart. So, if the NHL ever expands to Prince Rupert, and I know it will, my hometown one day,
yeah.
I think I want to call it either the Prince Rupert Resolution.
Ooh, that's good.
Yes, very clever. Or maybe the Prince Rupert Rubber Sheets.
Not as good, but unique.
That's what I'm going for, I want to stand out. It's very important.
That sounds really good. I hope it happens for you, Mark.
All right, well, speaking of standing out, it is time for our regular feature, What's Making Us Mappy? And I guess I'm going to kick things off by talking about something in ArcGIS Pro that is a new function, but something that I really found interesting, and I was playing around with it the other day. So, Maggie, picture, if you will, you have a bunch of dissemination area data for your city, and you might want to perform some hotspot analysis on it. But you want to do this on a neighborhood, right? But what defines that neighborhood? Right, so that's what a neighborhood is. And spatial statistics and spatial analysts have to face this question all the time. So there's this new tool called Neighborhood Explorer. And this tool is there to help you configure, visualize, and refine neighborhoods. And you can actually find it. It's a button on your analysis ribbon. And when you click on that button, it's going to ask you to configure what this neighborhood's going to look like. So the key parameter you need to enter in is this thing called conceptualization of spatial relationships. So do you want to define your neighborhood by distance or by contiguity? Continuity. I can't even pronounce that word, but you know what I'm saying.
Close enough. Yeah, I get it.
Right. So you define the parameters of what defines your neighborhood. And then once that's all set, you just go back to your map, you click on a feature, and it's going to create a group layer of those neighboring features and its connections. And of course, if you need to modify that, you can certainly do that. Or maybe you want to incorporate some barriers, maybe like a freeway or a river that will kind of naturally break up your neighborhood. You can always add in those barriers as well. And I can see this as being a really important thing to establish that first step, to do some further analysis like that hotspot analysis when working with things like spatial statistics. So, you definitely got to give this a try. Neighborhood Explorer, give that a try in ArcGIS Pro.
Yes, that sounds fantastic, because I love spatial statistics, but I don't always know what's going on in the back. So it's probably good to try that out first.
Well, that makes two of us, indeed. All right, so what is making you Mappy today?
All right, so Something pretty new and maybe a little sneaky. You might not have noticed this happening, but very recently, as in March of this year, ArcGIS Story Maps had a small update that changed some things, and there's something in there that gets me pretty excited. And it is the addition of media actions. So you might have seen map actions before when you added a map to your stories, and you can, click on something that'll change the zoom level or change which layers are visible, but that has been replaced by media actions, and it just gives you a little bit more control over what's happening in your stories. So if you have a sidecar style added to your story, so you have like the media on one side and text on the other, you can use media actions to change exactly what's happening in there. It doesn't have to just zoom to a different part of the map. It can add a completely different type of media. I used it just the other day when I was making a story where I actually was able to add a Survey123 form into in the place of the map. So, I had a map with some points of interesting locations, and I said in my story, "Hey, if you know other places people should visit, can you add them to the map with their form? Just click on that button, that media action. The form pops up in place of the map. You can submit it and go back to the map, see your point added." I think it adds a lot more functionality to story maps, and I'm really excited to use it on more of my projects.
Ooh, I love that enhancement. That is really slick. So I'm really
Hmm.
glad that Story Maps has folded that in. It's very cool.
Yeah, I definitely think people should try it out. It's more than just, adding survey forms. You can add different types of maps and apps and media content in there. And it's something that I think will really enhance people's work.
Brilliant. All right. So that is what's making us Mappy this month. But we've got some business to conduct. So coming up next, let's go inside the Arc and talk about how you can deploy mapping configurations for your specific industries using ArcGIS Solutions. When responding to situations like natural disasters, damage assessment, or informing the public, every second counts. ArcGIS solutions are designed to help you reduce the time to deploy location based solutions for many industry specific configurations.
We're pleased to welcome Lindsay Thomas. She is the ArcGIS Solutions lead for public safety for Esri Inc. out of their Ottawa office, and she's here today to talk about her work and how it impacts our communities. Lindsay, welcome to Spatial Report.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Mark, Maggie. Really excited to be here.
And we're excited to have you here. So thank you for spending some time with us today. I love ArcGIS Solutions, and I think I'm one of the people who uses them more than most in our organization, but I want to change that. And that's why we have you here to help give them some love. So I don't know if we could start off just by introducing to our users today what are ArcGIS Solutions and like who has access to them, just sort of the basic information about what they are to get us started.
I feel like Mark gave a good intro. ArcGIS Solutions at the most basic is an industry specific configuration of ArcGIS. Uh, that's a lot of big words. What does that really mean? So if you have ArcGIS Online or you have ArcGIS Enterprise, ArcGIS Solutions comes with that. So there's no additional cost to it. And if you go in and you click on the app switcher, which is that little 3x3 dot icon in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, you'll get to the Solutions app. It's a purple suitcase. Click on it, and you get this application in a browser, and it looks like a gallery. It has all these individual solutions that are there. For public safety, it's things like crime analysis or emergency management operations, damage assessment, flood impact analysis. And when you click on those, you get some information about it. There's some links to our documentation. And if you go ahead and click deploy now, what that actually does is it gives you maps, apps, and layers. They're all connected, they're all ready to go based around those different workflows. And they take a copy of that and put it in your online organization or your enterprise organization, whatever one you're using. Um, so that's what we mean when we say an ArcGIS solution, those individual items that help accomplish a workflow, help improve your business operations, accomplish a task, provide efficiency, um, all based around different industries. So I represent the public safety team, but we also have solutions for utilities, defense, state and local, provincial government, um, telco, and some business stuff as well.
That's really interesting. And as you mentioned, you are working specifically with public safety solutions. So, what areas do those cover?
Yeah, so when we say public safety, it's a pretty broad bucket, but most of the work we do is for law enforcement, municipal fire service, emergency management, a little bit of health and human services, also my team covers, and wildfire as well.
Right. So it covers a decent amount of areas. And do you find for your solutions in the public safety sector, are there specific users that you're seeing using them most frequently, different types of organizations that are accessing those solutions?
Yeah. So the solutions we're really user focused, and what I mean by that, when we do design or we create a solution, like who's using this? Is this a local government? Is this a police department? Which agency? I'm really focusing on that. But the types of users could be people from a city, a county, tribal government, state, provincial. Those tend to be the primary customers that we support. But you'll also see consultants, Esri partners, our international distributors use those solutions as well. Uh, Even nonprofits, higher education, national government will take advantage of those. So it's a really big customer group, but generally we're more focused on those locals. Like when you think about public safety, you think police, fire, emergency managers. That's usually done at that local level. It's the boots on the ground folks, but we see all different tiers of government and the private sector to use that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The wide swath that these public safety solutions can cover. Maybe share. Are you able to share an example of how a public safety solution is being used in the real world?
Yeah, there's there's lots of there's either external or internal workflows, and the internal ones are the ones that we don't hear about as much, and then the external ones we've seen a lot of police transparency implementations of our solutions. So in the US, we have a lot of folks, and the solution, sorry, is based around public information and outreach. So it's trying to shed light on um, different facts about law enforcement, how it's being used, and kind of providing information to the community. It also is an open data portal where you can go and collect information about maybe incidents or crimes, and use that yourself if you want to do your own analysis. So we've seen a lot of implementations like that. Toronto has one. It's not using a solution, but it is using ArcGIS technology. Recently, Ottawa deployed one as well, that's in beta. And so we do see that across the US and Canada that's implemented in a lot of ways. But that's a good, I would say, a good public facing example of that.
Yeah, that's a really great solution. I've definitely taken a look at it myself, and it's fantastic to see different communities sort of engaging the public and letting them know what's going on. Solutions are a great tool for that. I really like that solution, but I'm sure there's a lot of different ones that are popular. Have you noticed any trend, especially in the public safety solutions, is there one that sort of stands out above the others that's popular with different types of users, and maybe why that would be?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually we do have a few statistics on like on that on the back end here. So I took a look at that, and number one by far is probably crime analysis. So
Mhm.
crime analysis is an ArcGIS Pro centric solution that has an add-in, leverages ArcGIS Pro and some geoprocessing tools, as well as a pro package with maps and some workflows on typical workflows that crime analysts do. Um, so that one's wildly popular, and probably number one in public safety, and often one or two in across all solutions. So that's one of the more popular ones. Um, that's stuff that you see police doing data-driven decision making, and like really looking at patterns of crime, types of crime, what times those are happening, where they're happening, and then using that to make decisions on how they do operations or how they staff or how they go after those things. So that's probably that's probably my favorite too, if if I had to say. But yeah, that's definitely number one. Number two is flood impact analysis, which is also a ArcGIS Pro solution, and that's looking at localized flooding scenarios. So, how does flooding at different depths impact an area? So, is it going to be buildings here, buildings there? Is it going to impact infrastructure like bridges? Are there low water crossings? Where's the water, and what's that going to mean? And that really helps in preparedness for emergency management. So that's number two. And we see that's implemented a lot. That's a really big one too. Um, and third is emergency management operations. So this solution has been around since I started on the solutions team many years ago. It's had a couple different names. It's had common operational picture, emergency management COP. There's been all these different names that it's had, but the most recent version that we released a couple months ago is one of our more popular ones too. So that's all about understanding impact, who and what is impacted in the community, and then communicating information to the public. So if there's an evacuation, update that, show those evacuation areas on a website. So it's also internal and external. So those are the big three, I would say, that are most popular and implemented a lot.
So we were thinking about, what people might want to know when they're deploying solutions. And I think they're fairly straightforward, but, sometimes there can be some challenges that people might face when they're implementing them for the first time. And is there anything that your team does to help address that or to help users sort of get started with the solutions when they're first trying them out?
Yeah. I think like common challenges are um, our help documentation is very linear. And so that's different than like say ArcGIS product help, where if I want to understand a geo processing tool, I just search for the tool and I maybe look at specific things, but I don't read the whole thing comprehensively. Um, the way that solutions are, we have an overview, a configure, and a use usually. And so the configure has required steps in it. So sometimes people skip those or they skip ahead because they're treating it like other help. And
Mhm.
then they, get into a situation where, oh, I forgot that step, but I needed to do that before this other thing. And so that's a pretty common one. We try to educate. That's why I'm mentioning is we try to educate people on that as much as we can. In saying that, we've done a lot to like in the last couple of years to really improve our documentation. Most solutions now have a demonstration video associated with it, so we're always constantly taking feedback from people, hearing that feedback, and then trying to make those operational changes and changes to what we deliver to make people more successful. So yeah, it's a continuum.
Absolutely. I definitely think Solutions has some of the best documentation in all of our products. So you guys have really put a lot of effort into explaining how they work and how to use them. So I definitely thank your team for that. The barrier is not that hard to get started. So definitely recommend people give them a chance. But
Maggie, it's so nice to hear you say that because we've worked really. I think it's gotten better. The last couple of years, we put a lot of effort into that. So I think that's something we're really proud of, and I'm proud of, and I'm happy to hear that.
So before we let you go today, Lindsay, we do have to ask our typical question just to people, solutions there's a lot going on, public safety solutions, there's a lot of details to know. But if we only have our listeners remembering three things that we talked about today, what are the key things that they should know and remember about public safety ArcGIS Solutions?
Yeah, I think start with one, and what I mean by that is sometimes we get people at user conference or customers. They're so excited about all these solutions. I feel that too, and you want to do them all. Just pick one.
Mhm.
Pick one that can really provide a lot of value to your organization. Work with stakeholders, get buy-in, then start. Get that first one going, get it going really well, and then do two, three, four. So just start with one. That's number one. Leverage the resources we provide. There's a lot of great documentation there. Just do it in a linear fashion, and you'll be all set. Um, and then I think providing feedback too. So I think one of the reasons our team and our division is so great to work with is we're constantly trying to improve, and we can't do that if we don't know. So just providing feedback, whether that's on the Esri community, the blogs, reaching out to us on LinkedIn, that's a great way to engage with us. Or even, if you come to see us at user conference at the ArcGIS Solutions Expo, let us know about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we can take that into account and try to improve stuff going forward.
Well, this has been absolutely incredible, Lindsay. We really appreciate you giving us some insights on ArcGIS Solutions, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to hang out and talk about solutions.
They are awesome. So thank you very much for joining us. That was Lindsay Thomas. She is the ArcGIS Solutions lead for public safety at Esri Inc., and she joined us from Ottawa. And you can watch or listen to the full interview on the Esri Canada YouTube channel.
Coming up after this break, let's talk about how AI can help you build your surveys.
From navigating everyday obstacles to tackling the most pressing issues facing our world today, tune in to Geographical Thinking to discover how geospatial solutions can help solve problems and drive positive change. My name is Michelle Brake, and I'll be your guide as we explore stories, ideas, and conversations through the lens of geography. Listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
It's now time for the GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring in a subject matter expert to tell us what's noteworthy in one of our core ArcGIS products.
And we welcome back Sue Enyedy to the GeoGeeks Roundtable to talk about her favorite topic, mobile apps. Sue,
right.
It is awesome to have you back on the pod.
Well, thanks for having me back. Always happy to talk about mobile apps.
Absolutely. So I guess we all tuned into the Developer Summit plenary that happened a few weeks ago, and I think one of the big themes that came out of that of those discussions was GeoAI. So I'm just kind of curious to kind of kick things off. What is your take on GeoAI, especially in your world of mobile apps?
Yeah, I found that very interesting. There was a lot of focus on GeoAI at the plenaries, like you said. And basically, we are introducing GeoAI across the ArcGIS platform. So artificial intelligence for GIS geeks, so to speak. And it's all the ways that the capabilities can be used for doing analysis and just getting your work done faster in the ArcGIS world with some artificial intelligence. So with ArcGIS, some of the ways that were highlighted in the plenary were more complex workflows and analysis type of models that you can use. We have over 70 pre-trained models, and Dev Summit showed using some of these in ArcGIS Pro as part of detecting data with the GeoAI geoprocessing tools, and also using some of the deep learning models in the Living Atlas. But in our mobile app world, Survey123 is leading the way in using that GeoAI capabilities to get you to create your forms for your mobile users faster and more efficiently. And that's what I want to talk about today.
Yeah, definitely excited to hear about that. So we're not going to waste your time, Sue. I want to know all about it. I know Survey123 has introduced this in their newest experience, incorporating the AI. Can you tell us a bit more about what that is and how it works?
Yeah, sure. There was always some AI capabilities in Survey123. So for example, with the Survey123 Connect app, you could build models to train your device camera to work as a smart camera to auto detect things like signs and then automatically capture them in your survey. But those were pretty complex to use. You had to spend a lot of time actually and a lot of images to train your models to do that. But what we're introducing, anyone can use, even you, Mark. So yes, you can create a survey all by yourself. So what we are introducing is what's called a Survey123 Smart Assistant. And this provides a new way to get really quickly started with your surveys. And it uses the generative AI to guide you through a conversation to build your survey. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it sounds really cool, but I just can't. I just want to visualize how it works. So, can you walk us through an example of how our users
Sure.
can
So
use this?
if you want to start using this tool, it's available in ArcGIS Online. You need an administrator first to enable the tool. And once you sign into Survey123, the administrator would have to go to your organization settings and actually have to, in the extensions tab, turn on the Survey123 assistant. And it is still a beta feature. The surveys it creates will be great, but it's just still a beta feature because we're still trying to refine how it works. So once you turn that on, so let's say I can log in now and start to create a new survey in Web Designer, and I will see on the lower left-hand corner of the new survey window, use the Survey123 assistant option, and then I click on that. And then it gives you some examples of what kind of questions you can ask. Basically, you're trying to have a conversation with this Survey123 assistant. So to give an example, I want to create a survey that will collect data from a winery about about user experiences, right? So how do people like going to that winery? So I would ask that question. Yeah, Mark's laughing because, you know, the winery theme with me. And so I would ask that question, and then the assistant would go and generate a survey with some typical questions. And the nice thing about this is it's interactive. So if it gives me a list of questions that some of them I don't like or some of them haven't been included, I would then type in another question into the conversation box. So I wanted to ask, because I'm a wine geek as well as a GeoGeek, what type of wine did people enjoy at the winery? And I would basically type that exact sentence into the conversation, and then Survey123 would go and add that. And there's also ways to give feedback. There's a thumbs up and thumbs down. And what that does is it opens up a feedback window. So our Survey123 team can learn, is this actually helping the type of questions we're asking? Or you can put in feedback on what didn't work for you. And then they're going to try and make this tool even better. So now we've gone through that, only typing a couple sentences, we get a survey generated, and you're basically into the Survey123 web designer form where you can then modify those questions. You can add questions, you can remove them, you can create choicelets. So you're back to the point where you would be starting from scratch. You'd have to build all that or use a template. So it can save a lot of time, actually, and it's very easy to use.
That sounds fantastic. I love anything that can save me some time, and it
Yeah, for
seems like
sure.
it makes it a lot easier for especially people who aren't as comfortable using Survey123. It's
Exactly. And I think even if you really quickly wanted a survey and you didn't have time, I would use it, and I would create this survey, and then I could just modify it a little bit. And the nice thing too is if you create something in the Survey123 web designer and you want to use the more advanced features of Connect, you can always download that XLS form that gets generated from creating this survey, and then you can modify it in Connect and add all those extra capabilities and publish it. So I think this could work for not only really beginner type users, but someone who's in a hurry and needs to get going quickly. So it's actually really interesting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
I can't wait to give it a try. I could
Yes, and I
save
hope
a lot of
Mark gives it a
time.
try too.
Yes.
I'll do it. I promise.
So we love the GeoAI stuff. It's pretty exciting. But I know that in February of 2024 this year, there was a Survey123 release that included other enhancements as well. Is there anything else in that really caught your eye or that's worth knowing about?
Yeah, I think the one other major feature that caught my eye was the auto translation option. So many people may know that Survey123 for a while has provided us with capabilities to translate our survey into another language. By default, when you create a survey, it's created in the language of your ArcGIS organization. So if we were in Canada, it'd probably create it in English. And then you had options either in Connect or the web designer to translate every part of that survey. So it would include the survey title, the survey questions, the answers in drop-down lists. And you would have to do this manually. And it would be quite time consuming. You could create multiple languages. So if you wanted 3 languages, you could do that. But we have a new auto translate option from Survey123 Web Designer. You need to enable it the same way you enable the assistant. So you have to go to your organization settings, and someone with administrative privileges has to turn that on. And the way this works now is you build your survey in your primary language, and once you're done, you go to your options and it will say manage multiple languages. Now you could still go in there and choose a language and provide your own translations, but you have now the auto translate option, which really it takes not even a minute. It will translate your survey into your language of your choice. And we recommend if you do this, please check your translations to make sure they're translating things the way you want them to. Because again, we're working on to enhance this. But again, this can save a huge amount of time for going to multiple languages. And once you save that and publish your survey, the user will basically see the survey in your native language. And in the upper left corner of the survey, they have the option to select between the native language and the other language that you've translated to, or multiple languages. Just very, very quick. And I know a lot of people in our country need bilingual surveys and will certainly use this to some capacity to get their surveys done quickly.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I know as someone whose French is, not so great, despite what Duolingo tells me. I don't know. I try, but it's not great. It's definitely going to make a huge difference in getting started before I have to get an actual French person
Yeah, I
to
agree. At
take a
least you
look
can
at
make a
it.
draft, right, of your translation and have someone just review it instead of completely starting from scratch or going through something like Google Translate and just copying and pasting,
Yeah.
which, is can be inefficient. So, yeah, so these are basically the two things in the February release that are really GeoAI driven to help you get going with creating that survey faster. And I think we're going to see more capabilities with not only Survey123, but with other apps in the future that will help us to just get our mobile workers into the field even faster than before.
Wow, thanks so much, Sue. That's really exciting stuff. I can't wait to try it out. And thank you for joining us today to tell us all about it.
Well, thank you for having me.
That was Sue Enyedy. She is the product specialist for mobile solutions at Esri Canada, and she joins us today from the slopes of the Niagara Escarpment in the beautiful Hamilton, Ontario.
That's right.
We'll debate that later. But coming up next, it's time for Mark to rule and Maggie to drool in our game show, M versus M.
The music tells us it's time for another geography-based showdown. It's M versus M time.
Oh, yes, indeed, Maggie. And as you know, the rules are very simple.
Mm-hmm.
If Maggie gets 3 questions right, not only do I have to read the outro, but I have to suffer another month of humiliation and angst. But if Maggie gets 3 wrong first, I am declared the winner, but I'll still feel a lot of humiliation and angst. So that's just part of my deal.
Yeah, I think you have a good chance. I'm not feeling super confident after last month's win, so we'll see.
Well, I don't know. You kind of inspired me for this one, so we're not going to do anything too GIS-y on this quiz.
Okay.
But we do need to talk about our favorite line in GIS. You know what that line is?
Oh no. Okay, it's not latitude and longitude, is it?
It's your favorite latitude.
No!
The equator. Let's talk about the equator, shall we? 0 degrees.
Yes.
It's our favorite, and it's so long and wide. But there are a lot of things that are north of that equator, and there are a lot of things that are south. So that is today's game, north or south. So I'm going to name a location. You got to tell me if it's north of the equator or south of the equator.
Okay. Sounds doable. We'll see.
Sounds doable. Okay. All right. Let's get you off and running here. How about the Panama Canal? Is that north or south?
That is definitely north of the equator.
Such confidence. Yeah, you're right. Of course it is. So the Panama Canal is north.
Well, yeah, because the equator goes through Ecuador, of course.
Of course.
So it's north of Ecuador.
Aren't you? You are looking at a Google map, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I've been to Ecuador, and that's the only reason that I know. And the name.
All right, so let's see if you know this one then.
Okay.
Machu Picchu.
Peru is south of Ecuador, so it is south of the equator.
Oh, God. This is going to be too easy. Yeah, you're right.
You're just unlucky that I happen to have visited one place.
One place in the world.
Named after the equator.
Perfect for this game. All right, so you're 2 for 2. So this game's almost over. So let's see if I can pick a tough one here to keep it rolling.
You probably don't want one in South America. That's going to hurt your chances.
Okay, duly noted. Okay, well, I'm going to go to this place in a couple of weeks. So Singapore.
Ooh. Okay. Singapore, pretty exciting place to go. That sounds great. Haven't been
hot
there.
And humid. I'm just gonna be miserable the whole time.
You're never happy. You just can't be pleased. You chose to go.
That's true.
And I think that it is spring there. So I think that it is north of the equator.
It is really, really close, but it is north of the equator.
Yes.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you win this game? This is the shortest, quickest game we've ever had. And again, this means I have to read the outro. This is so humiliating. Oh my God. All right, here it goes. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Spatial Report. Please check out our website at esri.ca/spatial report to learn more about the topics we covered today. We also post videos of our interview segments on the Esri Canada YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our monthly Getting Technical newsletter that highlights all the latest news in our technology. This podcast is brought to you by Esri Canada, a technology company that empowers people and organizations by the science of where. Peggy Sampson, we will talk to you again next month. Have fun.
Thanks. Enjoy your trip.
We'll see about that. And until then, happy mapping.